Business Analyst Interview Questions and Answers. These interview questions and answers are intended to guide you in your preparation for your job interview. These questions have been picked because we believe that they are the best representative of what you will face in your interview. The sample answers are collated from years of experience and research in the recruitment sector. The answers confidently display the appropriate qualities and competencies that the interviewer expects from successful candidates. Read the sample answers carefully and take note of what skills and competencies they demonstrate. You might notice that when the question asks for examples, the answer uses the STAR method to construct the response. Situation. Start off your response to the interview question by explaining what the situation was and who was involved. Task. Once you have detailed the situation, explain what the task was or what needed to be done. Action. Now explain what action you took and what action others took. Also explain why you took this particular course of action. Result. Explain to the panel what you would do differently if the same situation arose again. It is good to be reflective at the end of your responses. This demonstrates a level of maturity, and it will also show the panel that you are willing to learn from every experience. In order to get the best possible results, apply this system to your own examples and experiences in working life. These sample answers are intended to inspire you to create your own responses to the questions. Question 1. Tell me about yourself and why you think you are suited to the role of business analyst. Sample answer. I am a highly efficient and effective business analyst who can be relied upon to work towards achieving the organizational objectives defined by the senior management team. With a proven track record of effectiveness and a keen desire to make a rapid and successful impact, the business analyst skills I use will, I feel, be attractive to your organization. As your business analyst, I will gather and disseminate all necessary information that will help me meet the key objectives of the organization. I will create a solid strategic business development plan based on the information and data gathered. I will identify opportunities for your business to grow quickly whilst instilling a culture of achievement within my department, and I will always communicate effectively with internal project managers, the senior management team, and also external stakeholders. I am very passionate about my role as a business analyst and feel strongly I can make a positive and long-lasting impact on your organization. Question 2. What are the most important skills of a business analyst and why? Sample answer. I believe there are 8 core skills required of a successful and competent business analyst. These are an ability to liaise with key senior managers, directors, and stakeholders to establish the predetermined objectives of the organization. You need to hold your team and other departments accountable for their actions in respect of working towards the objectives defined in your business plan. You require keen analytical skills and an ability to dissect information and data to help you achieve the key requirements of your plan based on risk versus benefits. An ability to build strong relationships with both internal team members and project managers is a must, as without these relationships, you will be constantly struggling. An ability to work collaboratively with external stakeholders is also vital. You need to be capable of utilizing outstanding project management skills and an understanding of the project life cycle, as without these, you will not be able to achieve your objectives. You must be able to multitask and manage numerous projects and tasks all at once. As a business analyst, you cannot function competently without numerous and vast projects on the go all at once. And finally, a strong ability to follow processes and systems and encourage organizational departments to do the same. A successful business requires systems and processes, and this is one thing I will look to develop in my role as your business analyst, if successful. Question 3. What are the different stages of a successful project? Sample answer. There are 6 stages of a project you need to focus on in order to ensure it is successful. To begin with, there is the initiation stage. During this stage of a project, you need to define the reason for the project and also gain a clear purpose. This then enables you to work on the planning stage, which is where you would essentially map out what everyone needs to do in order to bring the project to a successful conclusion. The planning stage includes the team you will need, the resources you have to acquire, the action you all need to take, and also a timeline for completion. You would then move on to the development stage of the project, where you will bring everything together, including the people and the resources, before providing them with a clear brief of what everyone needs to do. You would then move on to the implementation and testing stages of the project, before finally finishing off with the closure stage. The closure stage is where you would deliver the project and provide ongoing support if needed. At the end of every project, it is also good practice to look back at the lessons learned so you can continually learn, grow, and develop as an organization. Question 4. What's your understanding of gap analysis? Sample answer. As a business analyst, it's important to have a clear understanding of what gap analysis is, and more importantly, how you can utilize it within an organization to essentially help achieve predetermined business goals or objectives. Gap analysis is a technique used to determine what steps a business or organization needs to take in order to move from their current situation to where they want to be in the future. For example, if an organization needs to improve efficiency and output in order to increase revenue and profitability, the business analyst may decide to facilitate brainstorming sessions, interviews with key employees and managers, and also analyze key organizational information and data. Once this process had been completed, the business analysts will have sufficient details, data, and information to create a clear plan of action to overcome the challenges present, and more importantly, ensure the organization gets where it needs to be in order to achieve the desired objectives. Question 5. Describe a situation where you were struggling to meet an important project deadline. What did you do to resolve the situation? Sample answer. I was tasked with leading an important project for a previous employer with a very strict deadline. Early on, during the project implementation stage, it became clear that 2 members of the team were struggling to meet their objectives. As soon as I identified the issue, I called a team meeting to establish the facts of the problem and also the reasons why they were unable to meet their goals. It quickly became clear their experience in the required area was lacking, despite me being given assurances they were up to the job. I immediately sourced 2 replacement team members from different departments within the organization and briefed them on what needed to be done and by what time frame. The project was then successfully achieved on time and to specification. Once the project was over, I took the steps to facilitate suitable training for the initial 2 team members to make sure they were suitably equipped to participate in and complete future organizational projects. Question 6. Would you say you are a business analyst or a project manager? Sample answer. As a business analyst, you need to have a thorough understanding of the project lifecycle and also the role of a project manager. On that basis, I would say I am a strong business analyst who also has a competent understanding of the role of project management. Essentially, if I needed to step in and manage a project at short notice to help out my employer, I would know what to do to get the project completed. Question 7. Describe a time when you handled multiple projects all at once. Sample answer. I understand that, as a business analyst, I will be required to manage multiple tasks all at once, as without the ability to do so will mean I cannot meet the organizational objectives. In a previous role, I was working in a large organization who had made a number of cost-saving exercises to minimize expenditure. As a result of this, I took on 2 additional projects along with my own core role responsibilities. This meant my workload literally tripled. However, I saw this as an opportunity to develop my multitasking and project management skills. To ensure I completed all tasks competently, I held weekly meetings with all team members to both allocate weekly tasks, resolve any problems or issues, and to also ensure everyone within the team had the tools and resources they needed to complete the tasks successfully. As each week progressed, I found the management aspect of the additional work was becoming easier. I feel the best way to manage multiple tasks and projects all at once is to utilize your team's strengths. Make sure what you are doing is making a positive impact, and also hold people accountable by setting strict deadlines for when each part of the project must be completed by. Question 8. Describe the most challenging project you have worked on and why. Sample answer. Before I started working within the business analyst field, I worked for a period of time as a project manager. One particular project immediately springs to mind. I was managing a project for a client who had specific requirements that continually changed. Every week, they would change their mind on what they required, but I focused on completing the project successfully, on budget and on time, whilst motivating my team. The project was particularly challenging because some members of my team did not like the client and were threatening to quit. I motivated my team continually and listened to their concerns as and when they raised any issues. I found that by communicating with my team regularly, it helped them to stay focused on the project. I decided to discuss tactfully my concerns with the client. I felt it important to communicate with them how their indecision could potentially have a negative impact on the project. Whilst I assured them the project would be delivered, I felt it was my responsibility to inform them of the potential negative impact the indecision could have on the overall result. They took on board my comments and suggestions and thanked me for my honest feedback. The end result was that the project was delivered on time and to the satisfaction of the client. At the end of the project, I conducted a meeting with my team members and all discussed what we had learned from the project so that we could improve for next time. I always find an honest and open approach to managing projects works well. Question 9. As our business analysis, how would you approach risk? Sample answer. I would approach risk as a business analyst using a qualitative analysis approach. In basic terms, I would make good use of a SWOT analysis and also utilize a probability versus impact assessment. During any risk assessment approach as a business analyst, I feel it is very important to gather as much information as possible from a wide range of sources. These sources can be based on historical evidence or facts derived from external organizations. You should also make good use of your internal team members and also utilize your own experiences and carefully analyze the data and information you have at your disposal. There is also the issue of time when analyzing risk. How much time you have will also have an impact on the risk-weighting outcome. So, to answer your question, I would utilize as much information as possible whilst also using a systematic approach to analyzing the benefits of taking the risk. I would also assess the appetite for risk from my senior management team and clearly explain to them the risk versus benefits assessment and also the likely outcome of the project actions from my experience and perspective. Question 10. As our business analyst, how would you begin a newly assigned project? Sample answer. One of the most important things for me as a business analyst is clarity. Unless you gain total clarity at the start of the project, it is likely to fail at some stage down the line. So, as part of the project management lifecycle, I will start off with the initiation phase. This is where I define the reason for the project and its purpose. Once I have completed this stage of the project lifecycle, I can then move on to the planning stage and define the people, resources, and finances needed to complete the project to the required standards and specification. As your business analyst, I would implement and follow tried and tested processes and systems, which are based on the predetermined objectives that you set as the senior management team. Question 11. As our business analyst, how would you monitor the performance of your team? Sample answer. First and foremost, I would conduct regular appraisals and meetings with my staff to find out their strengths, weaknesses, and also what they needed to perform their duties to the standard required. I would also set deadlines and make my team stick to them religiously. I feel that by applying deadlines for work to be completed, staff are more likely to develop successful habits and complete work on time. Finally, I also think it is very important to reward and praise staff when they work well. Again, by simply praising your staff, they are more likely to work hard for you and achieve the goals of the company. Question 12. What do you do when a stakeholder wants a must-have requirement, but the costs are too high? Sample answer. I would explain to them the fact that the costs were too high and then assess their response. If they absolutely insisted on the requirement, I would pose the possibility that I could look to source an alternative that was within their budget. They could then decide whether or not they wanted to increase their budget, choose the alternatively sourced option, or disregard the requirement. If in this type of situation, clarity and transparency are vital when discussing the requirements with the stakeholder. Question 13. Is working late a good or bad thing? Sample answer. To be truthful, I think it's a good thing. Providing working late doesn't have a negative impact on the accuracy of your work overall. Of course, taking rest is important to be at the top of your role as a business analyst. However, I feel in the modern world we live in, where demands are higher, you have to be prepared to put the extra hours in. I have always worked late and will continue to do so when required to meet important deadlines and to also ensure the completion of tasks. Question 14. What do you consider to be the most difficult aspect of managing a business analyst project? Sample answer. The most difficult aspect of the project, and at the same time the most rewarding, is dealing with clients or organizations who have unrealistic expectations. I've been in situations before whereby I have spent a considerable amount of time discussing the project with a client and also making them fully aware of risks, only for them to place undue pressure on the project with altering requirements. Having said that, I do believe I have become highly competent at managing clients' and stakeholders' expectations, and I do this by effective communication and making the client fully aware at every stage of the process we are working to. In my experience, by keeping the client fully on board and communicating with clarity and transparency at every stage, this saves time and problems later on down the line. The truth is, the client is the person who brings revenue into the business, and it is my responsibility as a business analyst to manage their expectations and keep them focused on the initial project aim and mission. Question 15. Describe a time when you were involved in a project that failed. Sample answer. There was one particular project I was involved in that didn't go well, but it is also perhaps the one project that I learned the most from. Many years ago, when I first started working in project teams, I was part of a team of 6 people who were tasked with delivering a time-sensitive project for an important client. Because there was not much time to complete the project, the initial brief and task allocation delivered by the project manager was inadequate, in my opinion. This obviously had a knock-on effect whereby important milestones were missed. In the end, the client abandoned the project, and I felt quite embarrassed having been part of the team that failed. However, I took a tremendous amount from that experience, and I always use it now as a reminder of what not to do. Whenever I am managing a project, I will always conduct a thorough brief based on my plan, allocate tasks to people who I can trust and also who will do the job for me, and I always hold regular team meetings to monitor progress. If things are not going to plan, I will always take decisive action quickly and put things in place to get them back on track and to specification. Question 16. Who was the last person you had to speak about regarding underperformance? Sample answer. In a previous role, I had just started managing the team when I noticed a member of staff was missing deadlines and appeared to have a lackadaisical attitude to their work. I immediately held a meeting with them to raise my concerns and to also get to the root of the problem. My aim was to resolve the issue as soon as possible and put a plan in place to get them back working to the required standard. After speaking to them for a few minutes, it became apparent they were having serious problems at home. I decided that the best approach here would be to demonstrate empathy, provide support, and also to agree a plan with them to get them back to full working capacity. I discussed with them some options for obtaining counseling, for which they were open to. I also agreed with them that we would hold a weekly meeting to assess how they were feeling and to also assess the plan we had created to get them back to full working capacity. Overall, it took 4 weeks for me to get them back to where they were prior to their personal problems. I felt this was a success, as we got to the root of the problem quickly, which enabled me to create a supportive plan that enabled them to start feeling better as soon as possible. Question 17. Describe your communication style during the management of a project. Sample answer. My style of communication is always open, honest, and encouraging. I believe that by having an open and encouraging style of communication, my team will discuss with me any issues and potential problems, which will in turn allow us to deliver the project on time and to specification. Of course, there are times when a limited communication style is required, especially when we are operating to an extremely tight deadline. However, wherever possible, I always encourage open, honest, and frank discussions where the team feel they can communicate with me at any time. Question 18. How would you motivate a team during a project? Sample answer. I would motivate my team in 3 ways. Through a thorough brief at the start of the project, by laying out the required standards of the project from the get-go, by communicating with them and also supporting them periodically throughout the project duration. I feel a thorough brief at the start of the project that lays out the plan and key tasks is essential. If everyone knows their role within the project, then it is far more likely to be a success, and the team will feel motivated throughout. Also, by setting out the required standard and expectations at the start, none of the team members will have any cause to complain or feel demotivated. Clear lines of communication and expectations are essential to motivating a team. Finally, by speaking with the team throughout the project and also offering words of encouragement and support, each team member will feel valued, which is a key driver to delivering a successful project. Question 19. How would you delegate responsibility during a very important project with tight deadlines? Sample answer. One of the most important things with regards to delegation is to know your team's key strengths and weaknesses. That is why it is important to get to know your team inside out as soon as possible. If you know your team well, you should not have a problem delegating tasks. To specifically answer your question, I would draw up a list of tasks that needed to be delegated during the planning phase of the project, before identifying which team members should carry out each particular task based on their strengths. Once the tasks were delegated, I would ensure each team member was fully aware of the brief. I would also make sure they provided me with a situation report and update on a periodic basis. This would allow me to benchmark against my plan to ensure each task was working towards delivering a successful project on time and within budget. I would always trust my team to deliver based on the fact I would be fully aware of their strengths and weaknesses. Question 20. How would you ensure a project is delivered on time and budget? Sample answer. All projects I take control of are delivered by proper planning, support during the execution phase, and a flexible approach to working. The planning phase is always done well in advance of the project start date, and this allows me to strategically plan any eventuality. I will always create a vision board during the planning phase to identify the key issues that could arise during the execution of the project. This is important because it then allows me to prepare in advance for any eventuality. Then, if something happens to potentially put the project off track, it is not a surprise because I have a contingency plan in place to deal with it. Support during execution is whereby I provide motivational support to the team and also look strategically for potential problems with the plan. This allows me to foresee issues and deal with them properly. Finally, by having a flexible approach to the project, you are not set in your ways and blinkered by your own thinking. It is always important to listen to your team members and other stakeholders as they may foresee a better way of working that allows us to deliver the project more efficiently and cost-effectively. Question 21. As a business analyst, what is your strategy for working with an underperforming team member? Sample answer. My strategy would be to use a 3-step approach that has always worked for me in the past whenever a situation like this arises. That 3-step approach is: identify the issue that is affecting the team member. This would mean sitting down with them and getting to the root of the problem. Knowledge is power, and if I understand what is causing them to underperform, I can resolve the situation quickly. Once I had gathered the information during step 1, I could then put in place a coaching or development plan to help them improve. If it is something in their home or personal life that is causing them problems, I can create a plan for them based on their needs. However, if it is solely a performance-related issue, I would put a plan in place to help coach and develop them whilst showing empathy if required. I would then support them for the required period of time to ensure they got back on track with their performance. Whatever the issue the team member had that was making them underperform, I would get to the bottom of it quickly, support them, show empathy where appropriate, and put them on track to get back to peak performance as soon as possible. Question 22. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Sample answer. I see myself working for you as a competent, trusted, and professional business analyst, or even perhaps having obtained advancement within your company to a senior level. Having researched your organization in detail, you are clearly an innovative and forward-thinking company who has exciting plans for the future. I see my career development and progression solely with your company, and I am genuinely excited to work for you, if you feel, of course, that I am a suitable fit for your team and organization. Question 23. What's your biggest weakness? Sample answer. My biggest weakness has to be the fact that I see my work as the most important aspect of my life. In the past, I have sometimes found it difficult to strike a healthy work-life balance, and the hours I have put into managing projects and tasks has been, some might say, excessive. However, whilst I am still very passionate about my work and I still work very long hours, I feel I am becoming a smarter business analyst, and I have become a highly effective delegator who has the ability to identify those within a team who have the most appropriate strengths to help me achieve my team's and my organization's objectives. Question 24. What are your salary expectations in the role of business analyst? Sample answer. Having conducted some research online, I understand the average salary of a business analyst within this industry is $68,000 to $75,500. Whilst I do believe I am worth the higher band of salary, I understand that I have a responsibility to prove to you I can excel within this role. On that basis, I feel a fair salary would be $72,500, and I feel confident you would be impressed with my strong work ethics and performance based on the salary. Note: the salary range indicated within the above response is an estimate. Please ensure you carry out your own research from within your own industry based on the salary of a business analyst. Question 25. That's the end of your business analyst interview. Do you have any questions for the panel? Sample answer. Who's your biggest competitor, and how can I help you to better them within this role? If I am successful, what would be the first thing you would want me to focus on as your business analyst? What has been your biggest frustration with previous business analysts who have previously worked within your organization?